It is 7 in the morning. At this point, you are in the midst of preparing breakfast, which may include toasting some bread, heating some coffee, or scrambling some eggs. There is a lapse in electricity. What about your coffee maker, microwave, and toaster oven? Nobody alive. Anxiety begins to creep in. To what end? On the other hand, if you were an Amish person, you probably wouldn't even mind, while the majority of us would be frantically searching for our phones or going crazy over the fact that our coffee is cold. The Amish view this as nothing more than another Tuesday morning. There is no anxiety, no electronic devices, not a problem at all. And here's something truly remarkable. The Amish have been living without electricity for more than 300 years, and they have not only survived, but they have thrived. They prepare scrumptious and nutritious meals on a daily basis without the use of any buttons, beeps, or screens whatsoever. Several of their home-cooked meals are so good that they would make your favourite takeaway meal look like it was prepared in a freezer. So, how do they manage to do that? It is the wood-burning stove that serves as the focal point of every Amish kitchen. Additionally, it is the major star, the most valuable player, and the daily workhorse. It is not just a backup for blackouts. This stove is as authentic and dependable as it gets, despite the fact that it might look like something that would be found in a museum of history. It does everything from cooking to baking to heating the room. Imagine it as the first all-in-one kitchen appliance of its kind, minus the technological components. The purchase of a wood-burning stove is a game-changer, whether you are interested in living off the grid or simply want a reliable backup plan in the event that the power goes out. However, you shouldn't anticipate that it will be as easy as pressing a button. First things first. Where exactly can you obtain one? It is still possible to purchase them in modern times at specialised shops, internet sellers such as Lehman's, which is well known for selling Amish-style goods, or even large stores such as Home Depot. If you are looking for that rustic, old-world appeal, antique shops and estate sales are also great places to look for goods. Once you have one, the installation process must be done correctly. Because these stoves require adequate ventilation, your chimney or flue must be cleaned and installed correctly in order to prevent the accumulation of smoke that could be hazardous. To a great extent, the Amish have things under control. Their kitchens are uncomplicated. There are no elaborate islands or shelves crammed with items of decoration that are never used. Simply a spotless and open area that allows for easy mobility and cooking. In addition, you do not have to completely remodel your kitchen in order to imitate the Amish. If you want to create a cooking space that works with your stove rather than against it, all you need to do is make a few careful adjustments. A fun statistic is that around 90% of homes in the United States have never used a wood stove for cooking. The majority of people get the impression that they are playing a video game in the expert mode from the very beginning. As for the Amish, however, in the same way that breathing is natural, thus, how does it function? You begin with a tiny amount, such as crumpled paper, kindling, and logs made of hardwood. As soon as the fire is started, you will adjust the air vents in order to regulate the temperature. However, despite the fact that it requires some learning, it is really fulfilling. In the event that you are prepared, you can immediately arrange your cooking utensils and pots on the surface. The ability of cast iron stoves to retain heat for an extended period of time makes them ideal for slow cooking, baking pies, or keeping a pot of soup warm throughout the day. They take a while to heat up, but once they are hot, they remain hot for a long time. This is a characteristic that the Amish adore, particularly when they are baking bread in the traditional manner. Having said that, let's be honest. It is not always simple. If you have an excessive amount of wood, you will overheat. When you don't have enough, your food will just sit there. By the time you get the hang of it, however, it will feel as though you have tamed a small dragon who breathes fire and wants nothing more than to prepare dinner, rather than to destroy your home. If you are looking for a cast iron stove, You can hunt for it at antique stores, on internet markets such as Craigslist or eBay, or you can look for contemporary ones made by reputable firms such as Vermont Castings. In some of the more recent models, ovens and water heaters are even fully integrated into the appliance. It is possible that studying the Amish way of cooking is the first step you should take, regardless of whether you are preparing for unexpected events, imagining a simpler way of life, or simply wishing to discover how food was prepared in the past. Nevertheless, here is a fact that no one will ever tell you. Stoves that burn wood are quite hefty. We are not talking about awkward to lift heavy. Rather, we are talking about get a friend and lift with your knees heavy. In light of this, if you are considering purchasing one, you should be prepared to seek assistance. In an ideal situation, you will want to position it close to a chimney or wall vent so that the smoke may be directed somewhere else. In this case, comfort is not the only concern, safety is as well. The process of installing a wood stove is not as straightforward as bringing it into the kitchen and turning it on the stove. On the off chance that your house does not currently have a chimney or vent, you will be required to install one. And you are correct, that may require some minor renovations. However, believe me when I say that it is well worth it. In accordance with the traditional Amish instructions, the most effective method for lighting a fire is to make use of dry, seasoned hardwood, specifically oak, hickory, or maple. You should start with newspaper and kindling, and once the flames have caught, you should gradually add larger logs. In this situation, patience is your best friend. A cast iron stove requires practice in order to properly control the heat. It is highly recommended by the Amish to make use of a stove thermometer in order to maintain stability, particularly when baking. Furthermore, it is possible to cook directly on the cooktop by utilizing cookware made of cast iron. Alternatively, if your stove has an oven built in, you can use that. When you finally get the hang of it, you'll be able to master the art of preparing meals that not only satisfy the stomach, but also warm the heart. That is something that can never be accomplished by a microwave. However, here is something that is even more traditional: cooking over a campfire. It's possible that when you hear the phrase campfire cooking, your mind immediately goes to s'mores made in the backyard or hot dogs on a stick that have a tiny burn. On the other hand, for the Amish, it is a revered and time-honored custom, and they have it down to a science. There is more to starting a campfire than simply piling some logs and striking a match. There are other factors to consider. Depending on the food that they are preparing, the Amish will employ a variety of different fire arrangements. Do you want something with a high level of heat, such as crispy fried chicken? This is a fire in the style of a teepee. Stack the sticks in a cone shape so that the flames can ascend quickly and become very hot. For soups and stews that require a longer period of time to simmer, however, they utilize a fire with a log cabin design, which consists of logs placed in a crisscross pattern to burn slowly and produce coals that are constant and burning. The idea is straightforward, efficient, and straight from the wisdom of the frontier. And that's not all they have to say. Cast iron is used by the Amish for a wide variety of cooking implements, including pots, pans, skillets, and even Dutch ovens. They use solid tripods to suspend pots over fires. They set up grates for grilling, or they cook directly over hot stones. There is no electricity. It is not electronic. All you need is a powerful fire, some basic tools, and much better food. Do not attempt to imitate the Amish in everything they do in a single weekend if you are new to this. Take baby steps. The heat, the tools, and the timing all need to be adjusted to. If you don't take precautions, your gourmet supper over the campfire could end up being a charcoal-flavoured nightmare. Although the Amish do not support the installation of electrical lines, they are not completely anti-modern. This is something that the majority of people are unaware of. Propane and gas appliances are utilised by a significant number of Amish households. This is their secret weapon. It is a means to live off the grid without having to give up all of the conveniences of contemporary life. For the most part, Amish homes are equipped with gas ovens, stoves, and water heaters. They are able to function without the use of power, which is consistent with the Amish lifestyle and principles. A propane stove is something that you won't find in an Amish kitchen, but you will find a computerized cappuccino maker, without a doubt acceptable. It is simpler than you may think to use propane on your own, whether you are interested in doing so for the purpose of disaster preparedness or simply to reduce your monthly electric cost. Stoves that are powered by propane are manufactured by reputable brands such as General Electric and Frigidaire, and you can get them at most hardware stores. There is a propane tank that you will require, and your local supplier will be able to supply and connect it for you. In addition, take my advice and have it professionally installed first. If you do not have previous experience with gas, now is not the time to go all in on your own. Constantly put safety first. However, we are not yet finished. Although it may be hard to believe, a number of Amish houses have recently begun to utilize solar electricity, certainly solar power. However, the Amish are putting it to surprisingly excellent use, particularly with solar ovens. You might image it on sleek city rooftops or elegant modern dwellings, but the Amish will surprise you with its application. These devices are not high-tech devices that have buttons and applications. Uncomplicated, efficient, and unobtrusive, solar ovens are the unsung heroes of the Amish homestead. They achieve temperatures suitable for cooking without the use of a single wire by utilizing mirrors and sunlight. It is possible to bake bread, cook beans, and even prepare roasts by just harnessing the force of the sun. Therefore, the Amish are demonstrating that it is possible to combine traditional customs with contemporary concepts while yet maintaining a breathtakingly simple way of life, even while they remain true to their origins. Let's imagine you want to roast a chicken, bake a loaf of bread, or slow cook some stew, but you don't want to turn on a light switch, burn gas, or even build a fire. What would you do instead? It does not seem feasible, does it? You are not an Amish person. The use of solar ovens has been perfected by them, and this straightforward appliance has the potential to be a game changer for everyone who is interested in cooking off the grid. You can think of a solar oven as a miniature greenhouse for your food, with the exception that it is meant to be used for baking dinner rather than cultivating plants. A reflecting surface directs sunlight into an insulated box, which is typically dark on the inside, in order to absorb and trap heat. The basic idea is straightforward but ingenious with this design. In a nutshell, dark colours are superior in terms of heat retention. After the sunlight strikes those reflecting panels, it is concentrated and enclosed inside, which raises the temperature to a level that allows for the baking of bread or the slow roasting of meat without the need for a fire, a plug, or gas. Moreover, this is not the end of it. Solar energy has also been utilised by the Amish in the creation of various pieces of equipment, such as solar dehydrators. These convenient arrangements make advantage of the sun to dry up fruits, vegetables, and even meats, making them ideal for storing food without the usage of any energy. The Amish style of living is characterised by a gentle relationship with the land, and this is a sensible and natural way of living. At first glance, solar cooking could appear to be a cutting-edge and environmentally conscious innovation. Nevertheless, for the Amish, it is merely the next natural step. It is not about buying gadgets. Rather, it is about making free use of what the earth provides. Perhaps the next time you find yourself feeling a bit too reliant on your electric stove, you might want to consider constructing a solar oven. Cook something that is exposed to sunshine, and while you are doing it, take pleasure in being outside. Let's talk about brick ovens, however. On the other hand, if you're looking for something a little bit more rustic, possibly even old, brick ovens are formidable cooking machines. Not only are they enormous, but they are also stunning and they have the appearance of something that was taken straight from a medieval village. However, these outdoor ovens are more than simply tools for the Amish. They are symbols of tradition, family, and the strength of the Amish people's work ethic. Now, you shouldn't anticipate being able to pick one up off the shelf at a home store. Brick ovens are constructed by hand by Amish people using bricks, clay, sand, and the knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation. The majority of the time, they are placed outside for improved airflow and temperature control. Initially, a sturdy foundation is constructed using normal bricks. After that, the interior is lined with firebrick, which is capable of withstanding and retaining extremely high temperatures. It takes some time to get one going. You will want hardwood that has been seasoned as well as a few hours of patience. Once the bricks have reached a temperature of approximately 500 degrees Fahrenheit, the oven will remain warm for a considerable amount of time, making it ideal for baking bread, pizza, or anything else that requires a consistent and intense heat. What about the odour? You probably already know this if you've ever been walking by a bakery and caught a whiff of the rich, warm aroma of freshly baked bread. Now picture yourself having it in your backyard, pulling out a loaf of bread with a crust that is golden and crisp, slathering it in butter, and tearing into it while it is still steaming. Just visualize that. The Amish are able to take delight in something as straightforward as that on a regular basis. Do you still consider that to be archaic? Keep your ears open for the next one, which is about earth ovens. I am, in fact, referring to the practice of burying your food in the earth. It does sound like survivalist material, doesn't it? However, the Amish have been doing this for generations, and it has proven to be effective. This is how it progresses. To begin, dig a hole that is approximately 3 feet deep and wide enough to accommodate your food. After that, you collect rocks from rivers or stones from volcanoes, because you know that these kinds of rocks are excellent at absorbing heat. For the purpose of heating the rocks, you construct a fire inside the pit and allow it to burn for a variety of hours. After the rocks have reached the desired temperature, you remove the firewood and place the food that has been wrapped directly on top of them. This includes meat, potatoes, root vegetables, and any other food that you are preparing. To prevent the heat from escaping, first cover it with leaves or foil and then pile on dirt. What is the end result? A feast that is slow roasted, full of flavour, and has the flavour of something that was cooked in a stone oven. Simply because, in a strict sense, it was. Even though they require a lot of time and effort, earth ovens are capable of producing some of the most delectable and delicate meals you will ever experience. Additionally, they come with the ability to boast about their accomplishments since, let's face it, how many individuals do you know who can state that they baked a dinner hidden underground? When you wrap your food in leaves or burlap, place it on scorching hot stones, and then bury it under a layer of earth, what happens to the meal? Just now, you have successfully constructed an earth oven, which is the most advanced underground slow cooker. Although it may have a rustic sound to it, it is anything but. Over the course of several hours, the meal is cooked in a natural oven, where the tastes intensify and the textures grow more soft and opulent. What is the end result? A dish that has a flavour that is smoky, juicy, and brimming with flavour, appearing as though it was made by the earth itself. It is only heat, time, and nature. There are no wires or metal trays involved. To answer your question, yes, these ovens are capable of reaching temperatures of up to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than the ovens in many kitchens have, as a result of the fact that the heat is distributed evenly around your meal. You will end up with roasts that are so tender that they fall apart and are bursting with flavour. Obviously, you won't be able to check on it every 10 minutes, but here's where the magic happens. I have faith in the procedure. Imagine burying your food in the backyard instead of putting it in the microwave the next time you are preparing a frozen meal because you are bored. If you could just, maybe, give your neighbours a heads up so that they don't call the police. An even better option would be to extend an invitation to them to visit your home and instruct them on the Amish method of cooking. Keeping in mind that we are discussing the topic of long-term food magic, let us now discuss the Amish method of preserving food for months without the need of a refrigerator. Canning. The Amish approach to food preparation is known as canning, and, unlike other methods, it does not involve the use of a pressure cooker, instant pot, or freezer. In order to ensure that the harvest is preserved throughout the winter, or at the very least until you have completed the jar of pickles before it develops fur, it is important to preserve the harvest. What is the procedure? Uncomplicated and tried and true. Using heat, sterilize jars to eliminate bacteria, then tightly seal them and keep them in a cool, dry place. All kinds of foods, including peaches, green beans, corn, and even meats like chicken and cattle, are canned by the Amish. The end result is shelves that are stacked with glittering jars of food that can be stored for the entire year, and even longer in some cases. Considering giving it a shot at some point? A farm is not required for you to live there. You will only want a few supplies, including jars, lids, and a water bath canner, which is essentially just a large pot that is used to boil jars. The hardware shop in your area or online are both good places to look for starter kits. Take, for example, the process of canning tomatoes, which is simple enough for novices. To begin, bring them to a boil-up until the skins split. After peeling them, place them in jars, stir with some salt and lemon juice, and then cover the jars with a lid. Once you have done so, put the jars in your canner and make sure that they are completely submerged. Pull them out of the water after around 40 minutes of boiling and then wait for that wonderful pop, which is the sound of a perfect seal breaking. Simply put, your tomatoes will be preserved for a considerable amount of time. Canned goods aren't the only trick they have up their sleeve, however. Smoking and drying meat, hanging herbs from the rafters, and air-drying apple slices and berries in open sheds are also other methods that the Amish use. Just for a moment, picture your go-to dried mango snack being prepared in a barn rather than a dehydrator. This is preservation done the old-fashioned way, with all the care and patience. Even more astounding is the fact that the Amish are able to accomplish all of this without the use of electric refrigeration. Jars, preserved goods, and smoked meats are all found in their kitchens, which are in full supply. When you enter, it is as if you are entering a vintage pantry that, in some way, feels more self-sufficient than your contemporary refrigerator. Nevertheless, without the amenities of contemporary life, how do they organise their meals? Simply said, they adhere to one rule. They cook according to the seasons. When it comes to cooking, Amish cuisine does not begin with cravings. Rather, it begins with what is ripe in the garden. Fresh produce, such as berries, tomatoes, maize and squash, is abundant on the table during the spring and summer months. The stews, pies, and substantial sides that contain them are examples. When winter arrives and the fields are empty, they rely on the food that is stored in the cellar, which includes jars of summer corn, pickled beets, and canned peaches. This seasonal method is not only useful, but it is also aesthetically pleasing. The meaning of this is that each meal brings you closer to the rhythm of the land. In Amish households, the question, "What do I feel like eating today?" is not asked. Their question is, "What is ready to be harvested?" It is not merely a method of eating, rather it is a method of living. Not only do the Amish cultivate food, but they also have that knowledge. The most important thing is that they are aware of when to plant, when to harvest, and when to preserve a crop. As if they were dancing with the natural environment, their entire cooking approach transforms with the changing of the seasons. To add insult to injury, you do not have to reside on a farm in order to accomplish the same thing. To get started, you should go to the farmer's market in your area, or even your own backyard if you have a garden. Follow the seasons when it comes to the food you eat. There is no need to overthink things. Simply let the elements to speak for themselves. For example, making salsa, simmering tomato soup, or tossing fresh tomatoes with basil and mozzarella for a summer salad that tastes like sunlight are all great ways to take advantage of the peak of fresh tomatoes, which occurs in the month of August. The squash, sweet potatoes, and, of course, pumpkin are the vegetables that are in the spotlight when autumn arrives. It is the time of year to indulge in activities such as roasting, baking, and warming up with a pot of something substantial. Do you have any experience with making pumpkin pie at home with real pumpkin? It is comparable to nothing else. And let's not even begin to discuss the winter season. A stew is a thick soup that is bursting with root vegetables and appears to transmit the warmth of the ground itself. This season is known as stew season. It is not just about eating, rather, it is about appreciating what nature has to offer at the time that it is available. To take pleasure in this, you do not have to be a homesteader par excellence. Just give it a shot, preparing one seasonal meal every week. One little adjustment can bring about a profoundly pleasurable connection between you and the food you eat, much like the sensation of tasting the rhythm of the year. This is something that the Amish have learned not because it is fashionable, but because it is actually useful. Efficacy is achieved in a respectful manner, and when you take the time to prepare, preserve, and plan in the same manner that they do, you will find something quite remarkable. Meals do not have to be complicated. Rather, they need to be intentional. A leaf from the Amish playbook is what you should do if you are sick of reheating leftovers or watching electronic devices do all the work for you. There is an old-fashioned method that involves heating your food for a short period of time and then allowing it to slow cook in an insulated box or wrapped in towels. You can try using insulated cookware. In spite of the fact that it consumes almost no energy, the outcomes are quite tasty. When it comes down to it, Amish cooking is more than just a technique. It's a way of thinking. Patience is more important than pressure. Having a purpose is more important than convenience. And caring is more important than speed. Every mouthful reveals a tale of self-sufficiency and adherence to tradition, from furnaces that burn wood to jars that are packed by hand. Consequently, perhaps it is time to reduce the use of the microwave and increase the level of simplicity. The reason for this is that often the best meals are not the result of plugging in, but rather of slowing down.